if you can really see that through the trees here, but it's definitely a red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. Look at that sun. Look how red that is. Definitely a change in the weather. It's almost 7 a.m. It's 60% chance of rain today, so let's see what happens. But look at that red sun, man. Wow. I'm sure part of that is the smoke from the fires back in California, but still, it's definitely well, how about that? An early start to the day, 8 o'clock. Whoa! I decided, or I really put effort into getting up early and getting out because, well, good chance of rain today. Thunderstorms. It's been rumbling all night, off and on. Nothing's come down yet. And you can see over here the clouds and all that. Let's see what happens. If it does rain, hopefully it lets up when it's time to make camp today. Speaking of which, the goal is 15 or 16 miles today, depending upon what little section of forest land looks like it's campable. A lot of these forest areas have been thick and overgrown, so let's see. Alright, going through Curtis today, and then getting out to the highway and turning right, going down towards Gold City. Not gold as in gold, but G-O-U-L-D, Gold City. And then before hitting that, we'll turn left tomorrow and go to Nobbinway. Now those things are the loudest chatterers. Those are sandhill cranes, I think. But it's almost like you can hear them for miles. I mean, not literally, but still. That's always a sad thing to see, isn't it? Having property auctioned off for not being able to pay taxes. Well, it's all of a sudden gotten ominously dark, and the sky is beginning to rumble once again. Are the heavens going to open up? It's 9:30 in the morning. Let's see what happens, huh? It came. I got the umbrella out just in time. Actually, a couple minutes too late, but still. And the nice thing so far is it's not really too windy of a rain. Just coming down straight, so to speak, which is good. I'm singing rain, just singing in the rain. What a wonderful feeling, I'm happy again. Well, here's the little town of Curtis. Curtis is situated between a couple of lakes. Manistee Lake over here, and South Manistee Lake right there. It's actually one of those little towns you might see in a movie. It's got a couple of restaurants, a couple of ice cream shops, a little gift store. Got some inns and motels around. Bait and tackle shop, a hardware store. So it's got quite a bit going on for a little town. It obviously caters to the vacationers as well as the snowmobilers. So Curtis, Michigan, looks like a nice place. The rain has stopped for now, and that's a good thing. So, all right, so I think I'm going to try and do 13 more miles. That'll give me a 21-mile day. I don't know. We'll see. Nobody for miles, I don't think. It's one of those lonely stretches of road that goes from one major highway, that'd be Highway 2, this way, south of us, on up to Highway 28 that way. Straight ahead and to the left would be Curtis, where it just came down through. And this way here is going to be Gold City. Actually, Gold City would be probably another mile past Highway 2. And then when you get to Highway number 2, you turn left and go to Nobbin and eventually reach Lake Michigan. Well, I'm closing in on 21 miles, but I'll tell you, this last part is really tough because of the gauntlet of mosquitoes. Man, they're relentless. Who would have thought that in the rain they'd even be more relentless? So the plan is to look for a spot to sit up that's not all dense and overgrown like this. I still have about 2.5 hours of daylight, and I think I'll be to my destination in about an hour and a half, so I have a little bit of margin, but not a whole lot. This, by the way, is snowmobile route number 2. So I turned off of I think it was called Gold City Road, going south to Highway 2, and turned left onto this snowmobile route. It, let's see, it takes off about, it was almost 2 miles, so it's well worth it. Well, here's the little town of Engadine. Engadine, yeah. I think it might be a farming place. I saw some farming guys in there. Looks like they might be Mennonite. And then little IGA market here. And I came from that way. Boy, I'll tell you about it later, but it was a really big snafu last night and this morning. So head down this way here to Highway 2. Hopefully get to Nobbin Way before the post office closes, as it's scheduled right now. Looks like I'm gonna get there 4 minutes afterwards. But I'll tell you about the snafu in a little bit. All right, I made it to the post office in Nobbin Way just in time. I had like a couple minutes to spare. But so Nobbin Way, Michigan, celebrating its 150th anniversary. Let me show you a little bit of it here. So you're looking east, coming in from, you're looking east this, no, you're looking west this way. There's a little bank here, a little store, smoked fish, sporting goods stuff, and a motel. Across the street, there was a Family Dollar over there. It didn't look like it made it. Snowmobile museum, and gas station, a couple of little restaurants. And what's big around here is there's a club here called the Hiawatha sportsman's club. They own 35,000 acres in this area. It's a club for people to enjoy the outdoors, golfing, things like that. But I had a nice meal over here at the Country Girl. So thank you very much, you guys. And hope you get to see your 10 more states that you have left to see. But anyway, so I'm heading on out of town. Did 11 miles today. I'll tell you about the snafu in a second. But 10 more miles today, and then a couple of 15s to get into St. Ignace. Oh, and here, something else I want to show you about Nabinway. And that is, welcome to Lake Michigan. You know, it's still a big body of water, just like Lake Superior. I mean, not as big as Lake Superior, of course, but a big body of water nonetheless. So I'll be along Lake Michigan for the next 2.5 days till I get into St. Ignace, and then after that, I don't know. Depends where I go. But let me tell you about the snafu. Yesterday, I was going to camp out in the woods after about a 15-mile day, 14-mile day, and then I decided, hey, you know what? Let's try and get into Nabinway a day early, because I wanted to pick up something at the post office. So I picked a spot to camp that would have been a total of 21 miles. When I got a mile short of where I was going to camp, there was a locked gate, and there was no way around that gate. There was a big field with cows in it, and there was a farmhouse, and I didn't want to trespass, and couldn't go around the fringes of the pasture because it was just all full of jungle, really. So I ended up camping just pretty close to that locked gate there, and it actually turned out, I think, to be better, because I think that spot last night where I camped was better than what I had picked out on the satellite map. So anyway, I got an early start today to get to the post office in time, and so I started walking down a road that was following power lines, and on the satellite imagery it showed that it was all clear. Well, after about a third of a mile, it just started getting brushier and brushier and brushier. So I backtracked and then tried to go around that field, and there was no way I could do it. So I went back and I just followed the power lines, and the brush stuff was just, at times, it was just up to my chin almost. So that really slowed me down. And oh, and the other thing too is, last night when I was making my plans for how long it was going to take me to get here, you know, I could have sworn that I saw on the map that was only going to be 8 miles, right? And so I figured, oh, that's no problem. Then I wake up in the morning, it says 11 miles. I go, 11 miles. So I think I ended up doing 3.3 miles for 4 hours, so I made it. 3.3 miles an hour for 4 hours. It doesn't sound right. Anyway, I made it with minutes to spare, and so that's what the big foul up was last night. Now I got something sad to tell you. Some of you might think it's bittersweet. Some of you might think, well, gee, it's about time. You know something? This guy has been with me for a long time. Here, I'll put some pictures over the years, but 25 years we've been good friends, except now it's just not cutting it. It's getting another hole here, big hole here. I think another one's developing here. The fringe is all. So I think we're gonna have to retire the hat, and I don't know, I'm gonna carry it the rest of the way or send it back, or just, I don't want to throw it away. But anyway, so what I got delivered to me at the post office, I guess this will be a new friend now for the next 25 years. It's a, they call it a tin hat, oilcloth tin hat. Got it from Filson's, so it seems pretty sturdy, and I guess it's going to last me a long time. Let's see how it looks. Extra large. Oh, it fits. So, wow, that's a big brim. It's really stiff, and I think it's going to look kind of weird right now because brand new hat, filthy, stinky clothes. Anyway, say hello to the new hat from Filson's, tin cloth hat. And bye-bye, old friend. Here's a nice beach on the shore of Lake Michigan. It'd be nice to find something to camp out on like this tonight. And I'll just risk it if there's a slight chance of rain, so I just risk it, sleep under the stars, and hope for the best, maybe. Look at that. Just like on Lake Superior. Way off in the distance, it's just like the ocean. That'd be a nice place to have, right? Well, here's another one of these really nice Michigan roadside parks / rest areas. Pretty nice, right along the shore. Go swimming if you want. And by the way, I want to tell you something about that other beach I just previously showed you. That beach I previously showed you was actually the northernmost point of Lake Michigan. And what's significant about that? Well, remember in the past video when I told you about the history of the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana Territory, Ohio, and all that sort of stuff, and how the eastern part of the Upper Peninsula was joined to Michigan, and then the western part was part of the Indiana Territory. Well, that northernmost beach is the northernmost point where the boundary of Michigan up through Lake Michigan came to that northernmost point across the UP and then to the border of Canada. So that's where that line was drawn that I showed you before on that map. I just stumbled across that. So interesting stuff. And Lake Michigan once again on a sort of a blustery day. Quite pretty. So look at this campsite, huh? Ouch. A couple miles short of where I was going to go, but this turned out to once again be a better spot. Right here. Up on the sand there. Nice and soft. The butterflies are flitting around, keeping me company. And it'll be a nice sunset view of Lake Michigan. Yeah, life is good, isn't it? Well, I think that I might almost have to vote this the best campsite of the journey so far. Maybe with the exception of Todd Harbor over at Isle Royale, where I had the shelter and the whole place to myself. But nice place to wake up to, and where's that sun? And take a look at this. The lake is now as quiet as can be. Huh. Lake Michigan and Chicago, you're down there somewhere. So I was just walking down this empty stretch of highway, empty field, and then look what I come up to. Out here in the middle of nowhere. Is that just for me? I don't think there's a lot of hikers coming by here. Alright, gonna have to do this quickly because it's raining. This is the Cut River. So I'd have to say that this is by far the deepest river gorge or valley, whatever you want to call it, that I've been through. This is the Cut River Bridge, and it's 159 feet above the river there. And there's Lake Michigan right there. If it wasn't raining, I'd go down and take a picture from the bottom, but I'll try and put in some stock footage in there. Cut River Bridge, pretty neat. It's just west of Efute. So I actually did get a chance to get under here, so here it is. 888 tons of steel it took to build this thing. I forget when it was built. But I also want to show you is trolls live here. You'll see. Look at this. Right there. So if you don't believe in trolls, yes, they do exist.
Oh, they do. So do bears.
Yeah. Take a look at that. You don't see it? I think it's another milestone. Way off in the distance there, now do you see it? That's Lower Michigan. I think looking down towards Petoskey, somewhere around there. So how about that? I still haven't decided if I'm going to be following Lake Michigan down that way or just go down the center part of Lower Michigan. I'll decide in a couple of days. Anyway, onwards in the rain. Coming up to, what is this, Brevard? I think that's what it's called. Here's the little town of Brevard. Brevard started as in 1875 as a supply depot and warehouse for the lumber trade. Everything was coming up on the lake there. And it's of Swedish heritage. It's people from the I think they're called the Islands off of Finland, but they're actually Swedish heritage. They either established it or they just kept coming here. Anyway, they used to have a pole raising ceremony every year, and that died out in 1960, but then they started back up in 1980, and it's been going on ever since. But other than that, it's kind of like a pass-through kind of place. There are some nice houses along the road there, and actually some condos. But looks like a few visitor cottages that were on that side of the road, and up that way they were on that side of the road as well. Not being used anymore, but it looked like it was a place at one time. So Brevard, Michigan. Now I'm running out of light. Still got rain, so I gotta hoof it on down that way somewhere. Hide out in the forest maybe, I don't know. We'll see what comes. Well, after slogging through the rain most of yesterday and setting up camp in the rain, I decided I'd sleep in. And look at that, sleep in with a nice view. But there's something I think I should show you now. A lot of you have been asking me, well, what was in the box way back there in Baraga? Well, what was in the box was this. It's a hammock. It's a hammock. I got a Hennessy hammock, and I've been using it exclusively these past what, week and a half, 2 weeks, and it's very comfortable sleeping in. I'm still deciding the pluses and minuses to it versus a tent versus sleeping out under the stars. So I'll give you my thoughts on it somewhere down the line. But yeah, I've been using it in the rain, no rain, mosquitoes, no mosquitoes. And so it has come in handy, especially in this when you're in terrain where it's not really conducive to finding a tent spot or easily finding a tent spot. But I do like waking up to views like this, huh? So since I slept in, I'm really going to have to hoof it today. Getting into St. Ignace, 17 miles down the road. By the time I get out of here, it'll probably be 11:30. So gotta run. But anyway, that's Lake Michigan in all its glory. Pretty. And this is the highest I've been above the lake. Pretty neato. Look at that, turquoise blue. Alright, well, it's time to go. See how much of that I get for the rest of the walk today. That's pretty, isn't it? You know something? This almost reminds me of Hawaii for some reason, and maybe it's because I've been thinking of here we go, doing a walk around the island of Maui, around the perimeter. But for some reason it just the waves rolling in, the wind, the point out there, it's almost Hawaii-ish. What do you think? Well, this is the Brevoort River. It looks so placid compared to the lake, doesn't it? Winds are really picking up out of the west, now the north-northwest. It's really interesting to watch how those waves, they'll shift depending upon the wind, you know. Just yesterday and the day before, those waves are going completely the opposite direction, that way instead of that way. And once again, that's lower Michigan off in the distance there. Take a good look, because this is one of the last looks, if not the last look, of Lake Michigan that I'm going to have. Very interesting, huh? In fact, it's so pretty, I think I'm going to just sit here for a bit and reflect. Yeah, that's the word, reflect. So this is about halfway between Brevard Lake Road and Cheeseman Road, where I'm going to turn left and basically turn from the southeast to the east to get into St. Ignace. So really pretty view, that's for sure. Winds are still out of the northwest. They've tapered down a little bit. But it's been nice having the somewhat tailwind. It's been a quartering tailwind. So I think I got about 9 miles to go. Good, pretty fast clip, almost 3.5 miles an hour in some places. So I'll get there ahead of schedule, I guess. Have you ever had a pasty? Not a pasty, but a pasty. I'm here at Leto's Pasties. It's just right before the cutoff. I'm taking over to St. Ignace. But here's what's left of mine right now. Yeah, come on. The traditional pasty is made with beef, onion, potato, and rutabaga. And there's all kinds of different ones, but if you don't know what a pasty is, for lack of a better description, it's kind of related to maybe or I would say it's kind of like an empanada, if you're familiar with those. It's a pastry filled with all the stuff in there. Interesting story about the pasties. Did I tell you this? Is that way back when the copper miners were going to work, they needed something that they could eat that was hearty, number one, and then number two, that they could eat with their hands. And so the pasty was developed so that when they folded it over, they left two corners on it so that the miners could hold the two corners and then just eat it down. And then if their fingers weren't too dirty, well, of course they'd eat the corners, but more often than not they just throw the corners away. So it's a finger food, so to speak, but it is pretty hearty. They do make small ones, but this is like a quarter of what's left. So anyway, pasties, they're really big here on the Upper Peninsula. I'm wondering how far down into Lower Michigan that I get before I start losing all signs of them. Well, we'll see. Leto's Pasties, 5.7 miles away from St. Ignace. Well, as I'm climbing up this little hill here to get to St. Ignace, I have a few conflicting feelings. Number one is that I'm ending the Upper Peninsula portion of the trip. And coming into this, I had no idea what to expect with the UP, and I can say I was pleasantly surprised. Very pretty, people are nice, and it's a very nice place. The second feeling, conflicting feeling I have, is that I have memories of Lake Superior, which is very pretty and big, enormous. Of course, Isle Royale as well. But I would think I was a little bit more surprised with Lake Michigan. I didn't expect that it would have that much natural beauty, especially being there at that top part of the lake. Now, when I drove into the Upper Peninsula from Chicago, I saw bits and pieces of the western shore of Lake Michigan as I was driving up the interstate. And it didn't really give me too much pause, but this northern part of Lake Michigan was very, very pretty. The third thing is that, I never really have experienced the Great Lakes. I've seen the little piece of Lake Michigan there in Chicago once, but I've never really experienced them. And so now I will have seen Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, and as I get here into St. Ignace, a piece of Lake Huron. So from going to not really seeing any of the Great Lakes to seeing the three biggest, that's an interesting feeling. And then the last thing I'm feeling is that North Country Trail. I'm going to join it up here again for about the last couple miles into St. Ignace, so it'll be kind of a treat as well, and I'm sure it'll be kind of different from that portion of the trail that I experienced there in the wilderness, there between Baraga and Marquette. So a lot of different feelings, and you know me, if you've watched me long enough, it takes me a while to process them. And but it's a good thing, all those experiences, seeing the sights, meeting the people, praying for everybody. But it'll also be an anticipatory experience as well, to experience the lower part of Michigan, see what it has to offer. Still haven't decided if I'm going to take the western route through lower Michigan, or pretty much follow down the center. So we'll see. Next couple days I'll plan it out. I'm going to take a break here in St. Ignace, and then I've got another adventure that I'll show you after this. All right, push on to the final 4.5 miles here. Now, how fitting is that to be ending this journey, this part of the journey, with a rainbow? Nothing happens by chance, huh? Hello, old friend. You ready for the last couple miles? Let's go swimming. You've probably seen stuff like this in the background of some of my videos, but I wanted to show you up close and personal how thick these Northwoods really can be, and have been. It's, you imagine way back when, before anybody got here, or when the first people got here, is how they get through all this stuff, huh? It was slow going, that's for sure. It's almost like a jungle, you know? You picture a steamy jungle from the tropics somewhere, and you think of all this gaggle of flora just choking the way, and it's much like it up here too in these Northwoods. One final observation on beer up here in the UP. There past Munising, well, all along the UP, this bush beer was by far the predominant can on the side of the road. I'm just putting it back where it was. Bush. And then after Munising, it seemed to be that it was a toss-up between Bush and Bud Light. But then after I turned off there at Senny to go on down to Germfask and Curtis, and then on down to Lake Michigan and across here to St. Ignace, Bush beer came roaring back. By far the most popular beer can along the side of the road in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. This, by the way, above me is Interstate 75, which ends not too far up there. And the significance of Interstate 75, you ask? Well, just like with US 50 last year on Walk Across America #1, on this Walk Across America #2, starting from this point forward, I'm generally, not strictly, but generally following Interstate 75 all the way down to Florida. All right, so here's the little town of St. Ignace, little harbor, and that there is Mackinac Island off in the distance. And the ferries that go over there operate just right over this way here. So Mackinac Island, or St. Ignace, it was a, I think it was an Ojibwa Indian settlement. And then the Europeans came. St. Ignace was founded by Father Marquette back in the 1600s. You heard that name earlier when we went through Marquette. And it was then became a big center for the fur trade in the 1600s. And then later on, when the logging and mining operations in the Upper Peninsula started to go big, then St. Ignace became big for that as well. So, little town. The bridge to Lower Peninsula is out that way, and then I would say, I guess you call it maybe the main part of town is right over there. And then we got some hotels that extend up this way as well. It's a nice little town, St. Ignace, and but now let's go take a ferry ride, huh? And let's go over to, oh, I gotta tell you something about the pronunciation. Something else I learned about pronunciation. Mackinac Island. So even though this area is spelled Mackinac, like I've been pronouncing it, it's really pronounced Mackinac. And in fact, when we go across the straits there to the other side, to the Lower Peninsula, there actually is a Mackinac city that's spelled with a W at the end instead of the AC. So goofballs like me who don't know better will call it Mackinac until they learn better. Just like back in California, the people that aren't knowledgeable about Spanish will call places like San Juan Capistrano, they'll call it San Juan Capistrano. Or instead of La Paz, they'll say La Paz. So Mackinac, it's called Mackinac. Let's go for a ride. What do you say, Mac? Should we take a tour of the island? Yeah, okay.